Disclaimer, the following video is a dramatic audio reading of Over the Moon, written by Snoopy7c7. This is the official sequel to Life's a Breeze and takes place 5 years from the original story. The events of Over the Moon follows the Lightverse timeline prior to Season 9's airing. Any continuity error should be accepted as an alternate universe. Enjoy the show!
Have you ever took a pause in the midst of working to sit back and truly soak in a moment? To really look back at the whole picture and find a great sense of admiration of where you are and how you started? Some find these moments at various points of the day, but for me, I find myself enjoying these moments in the very early morning, where the stars are at their brightest and the air is at its calmest and—
Aurora? Are you still up?
The purple batacorn suddenly jolted, being pulled from her thoughts. She was hanging from the balcony of her room, the new voice completely throwing her off. Scrambling, she slipped from her hold and started to fall. Quickly, she flapped her wings as she fluttered in place. Letting out a huge sigh, she looked back to her balcony. Flying back, she landed as she dusted herself off. Then the sound of one clearing their throat was heard as she looked to the source of the sound. A nervous smile spread across her face as her dazzling eyes gleamed.
Hi, Dad?
The Bat Pony stood in the shadow of her room as he stepped forward into the moonlight. His frown soon changed into a warm smile as he came beside his daughter.
You were narrating to yourself again, huh?
Psh, I'm way too old for that kind of stuff.
Oh, really?
Nova said with a playful raise of his brow. Aurora nodded as Nova continued.
Well then, shouldn't you be sleeping? You have to get ready in an hour or two to lower the moon.
I got the rest I needed for the night.
Just be glad it's me catching you this time and not your mother.
We don't have to tell her.
If she happens to ask about it, I'll be sure to mention I had you spend a shift with me on the night guard.
Her face lit up as she threw her hooves around her father.
You're the best!
Well, don't wake up the whole castle. Otherwise, I won't be able to have a chance to tell her.
They held each other for a few moments before Nova pulled back. He ruffled the top of her head.
All right, kiddo. At least try to get what little sleep you have left till sunrise, okay?
I will.
Nova made his way back to the door. Before he left her room, he turned back asking,
What was the late night narrating for this time?
Just enjoying the beauty of the night.
She let out a yawn, her tiny fangs glimmering as her head hit the pillow as she immediately found sleep. Nova watched his daughter with love as he shut the door softly.
You really are your mother's daughter.
With that, he started to stalk off, awaiting to greet his wife in the coming hours. Luna stood at the edge of the cloud. A loving smile spread across her face as she gazed out into the horizon. She could practically see all of Canterlot, from the beautiful parks to the abstract statues of the gardens. It was all so beautiful. That's when she heard hoofsteps. Turning her head, she expected to see her daughter, only to be greeted by her niece, Light. The mare broke into a smile as Light joined her aunt's side.
Morning, Auntie.
Greetings, young Lightbreeze. How are you this early morning?
Feeling pretty good, actually.
She beamed, stretching her wings. Looking at her aunt, she smirked.
Late again?
I presume my daughter will be here shortly.
To be fair, she's been doing pretty good on time this whole week.
That she has. She's been making such progress. I just don't want her to lose her game.
Aurora's grown. Maybe it's time to give her more trust.
Luna held her head as Light took to the skies. As the gray alicorn began to commence her duty, Luna's ears flicked to the sound of running.
And 3, 2, 1...
Luna whispered to herself as she stepped to her side. At that exact moment, a blue mare came tumbling through before crashing at the ledge. Aurora's head was spinning as she tried to keep her balance. Her eyes caught sight of her mother's stare as she nervously smiled up at her.
Hi, Mom.
You weren't up late again, were you?
Of course not. I even fell asleep a whole minute earlier.
I see. Be sure you're keeping aware of the time around you now.
Of course.
Luna looked to her daughter before looking back out onto the horizon.
All right, Aurora, it's time to help your cousin.
Yeah, I know. Duty calls.
Taking to the skies, the little mare got to a good height before sparking her magic. Her eyes shimmered as stars began to disappear, one by one, as the moon began its fall.
Keep your horn parallel and your chin angled.
Luna called as Aurora blew some mane from her face. As night transitioned to day, Light glided over to her cousin's side.
Up late again?
What can I say? I'm a creature of the night.
Seems like your mom's being on top of you more than usual today, huh?
You said it. She doesn't even notice how good I was doing this week.
I'm sure she does, Rora.
I don't know. Sometimes it's like she doesn't even see my efforts.
Slumber, it's time for our walk.
I'll see you around, Light.
Aurora said as she glided back down. Light tilted her head as she held a solemn look their way. The door opened as Luna strided down the hallway. A few steps behind her, Aurora hopped along the way. She was humming along as she waved towards some passing ponies. Noticing she was falling behind her mother, she galloped quickly to catch up to her. Luna continued walking as they passed by some murals. Aurora was about to reach her mother when she noticed one of the murals. She turned her attention to the mural as she recognized the event. It was the defeat of Nightmare Moon. Her sparkly eyes looked with bewilderment as she stared at Nightmare Moon.
Don't fall behind now, Aurora.
Luna's voice filled her thoughts. Aurora shook her head before rushing to catch up to her. She came to an abrupt stop as Luna looked to her side.
Come, Slumber. There's something important I need to tell you.
Am I in trouble?
Not yet, but I do need you to listen. As you may know, Light has been training to one day take over as queen.
Mm-hmm.
And you're training to rule alongside her as well.
Right. Though that won't happen for many years.
Well, I want to take the next step in your training. I'm putting you in charge of the Dream Realm.
Wait, what?
I think you're old enough to handle it on your own now.
Do you really mean it?
You start tonight.
Aurora wrapped her hooves around her mother's neck with glee.
Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, Mother!
Slumber, be ladylike now.
Aurora quickly let go as she rubbed the back of her head nervously.
Oh, Right.
Luna smirked as she used her wing to pull Aurora back into an embrace as the two mares giggled.
Oh, wait until I tell Melissa.
Then I guess you better be on your way now, huh?
I will. Thank you so much, Mother. I won't let you down.
I know you won't.
I couldn't believe my ears, Mel Mel. She's entrusting me to run the dream realm on my own.
Aurora was explaining the news to Melissa, who calmly stood in place listening to the mare.
I'm so excited I can't help but leap for joy.
You took the words right from my mouth.
Dreams are so cool. They're like movies in your brain.
I'm so happy for you, Aurora.
I just gotta make sure tonight goes perfect.
Tonight? It's happening tonight?
Well, yeah, that's what my mom said.
So, does this mean you're canceling?
Canceling what?
His Majesty King Thorax and General Ferrix are visiting Canterlot. While the king was to discuss formations and such with Sir Nova Slumber, you agreed to spend the evening with Frost Needleheart. Remember?
Aurora stood in place as a twitch came to her eye.
Oh my gosh!
Melissa stood there, unfazed as Aurora flapped in place.
I can't believe I forgot that! How could I forget that I'll be spending the entire evening with the sweetest, most genuine, most fantastic changeling in all of Equestria? I'm such a moron! I'll never get a chance like this again, but if I tell my mom, she'll think I'm trying to cut out of work, and she'll think I'm not
As
responsible
Aurora
enough to take
continued
care of the
spewing
dream
out
realm,
words,
and it's impossible
Melissa
to
sat
try to get my
calmly
mom
as
to
she reached into her
understand. Well, not
mane.
impossible, but it feels
She
that
pulled
way.
out a
This is
small
exactly why I
squeaky
need to
ball
keep up
that had the
planning.
face
My
of a
brain is so
bat.
frazzled with
As
thoughts that I
Aurora
can't even
continued,
remember something
Melissa
as important
calmly
as Frosty
squeezed the
coming
ball.
over.
It squeaked as Aurora suddenly snapped out of her fumbling of words. Looking at Melissa, she held the squeaky ball in her hoof.
I was doing it again, wasn't I?
Melissa nodded.
Ugh.
Aurora reluctantly held out her hoof. Melissa pawned the squeaky ball into Aurora's hoof as she started to squeeze it herself. Aurora's heart started to slow as she took in a deep breath.
Okay, I'm calm. Now what am I gonna do?
You can always tell your mom. I'm sure she understand.
You know why I can't tell her.
You sure that's the only reason you can't tell her?
I'm sure. Besides, I think I might have an idea on how I can do both.
How?
The little Batacorn gulped as her face became red.
I'm still trying to figure that out. But don't worry, I've got a few hours to spare. I'll figure it out. I've got nothing!
Aurora stood at the entrance of the castle. Melissa was standing at the side, in uniform, alongside Mythic and Light. The three ponies watched the little alicorn pace back and forth.
A whole evening with Frost, huh?
All by herself?
Revitelli speaking.
Mythic and Light shared a look with one another as they turned back to look at the pacing, muttering Aurora.
Oh boy.
Frosty's gonna be here any?
Aurora stuttered before she was cut off by Life's hoofs.
Hey, Aurora. How's it going?
I'm totally fine! Totally not freaking out!
Now, I think I can speak for all of us when I say you've got to calm down.
But Light, it's not that easy. He's just...
I know, but you've got to calm down. It's gonna be fine.
Aurora looked to the side. Light didn't know about her predicament.
Hey,
Light said as she used her wing to bring Aurora's chin up. Her galaxy eyes stared into her older cousin as she continued.
if it becomes too much, don't hesitate to call us.
Aurora smiled, feeling the comfort that her cousin was always there for her.
Thanks, Light.
That's when the doors opened, as the ponies directed their attention to the doors. Two smaller changelings stood there as they announced.
Announcing the arrival of King Thorax, his general, Pharynx, and Prince Frost Needleheart.
The royal changeling family entered the castle, as they were first greeted by the young princesses and squires.
Greetings, Princess Lightbreeze and Aurora Slumber.
The two mayors curtsied in respect.
A pleasure to see you again, King Thorax.
The squires bowed in respect as Pharynx addressed.
I'm looking forward to discussing the tactics amongst the Candlelight Guard.
My father's ready to meet you. Just down the hall to the left.
Excellent. There's much to discuss, so we best be on our way.
Right behind you, brother.
Watching them pass by, a hoof tapped Aurora's shoulder. Her fur rised instantly as she slowly turned her gaze. Her eyes climbed up a sturdy figure as she made eye contact with the changeling prince.
Hi, Aurora.
Frosty beamed down at her. Her face fumed red as she fumbled.
Frosty! Frosty! Nice to see you.
The three ponies all groaned slightly as Frost Needleheart simply smiled back.
It's great to see you too. Looks like we'll be spending the evening together till our parents are done with their meeting.
Yeah, hanging out.
Aurora turned her head away from Frosty as Mythic cut in.
Frosty! It's been a while.
Mythic!
Frosty gleamed as they exchanged a hoof shake.
Good to see you again, Frosty.
It's always great to see my friends again.
Yep, that's me. Aurora, your girlfriend. Your friend. That's a girl.
Before Aurora could sputter any further, a grumble could be heard. The attention was directed to Frosty as he blushed.
Sorry. I worked up an appetite on the way here.
Oh, we have food. You can have some if you want.
That would be great.
Follow me.
Walking to get something to eat, the three ponies stood there watching. When they were a good distance away, Mythic broke the silence.
Well, that was hard to watch.
You're telling me.
He's oblivious.
And she's a mess.
Melissa chuckled slightly as she walked forward. Light and Mythic watched Melissa in interest.
Now, doesn't that sound familiar?
Mythic and Light looked at one another as Melissa held a small smile on her face.